Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about the book Prey by Michael Crichton. If this seems kind of odd and out of nowhere, it's because it is a little out of nowhere. Back in February, I asked Angel at Jurassic Reads to recommend a Michael Crichton novel to someone who had never read Michael Crichton before. And Prey is the book that she recommended. Angel is a big Michael Crichton fan. I will leave her channel linked, and I strongly suggest you guys go check her out. If you come to my channel for any horror content, romance content, or if you happen to be a science fiction fan, Angel might be a really good booktuber to check out. So Michael Crichton, not unlike Stephen King, is one of those authors that's been writing books since I was young. Long time ago. And yet he's an author that I'd made it to this point in my life without ever having read. So sure, he was on my bucket list and an opportunity presented itself. And so here we are, me reading Prey. Michael Crichton is probably one of the grandfathers of what we refer to now as techno thriller, which is basically a thriller novel with a lot of science fiction aspects, technology, science, but wrapped up in a highly suspenseful or thrilling type of book. Now, Prey specifically is about an unemployed software engineer named Jack and his wife Julia. And Julia is working on a special project that involves creating nanobots, small, tiny cameras made of nanotechnology that can be injected into the human body and could revolutionize things like surgery and medical diagnoses. Julia starts acting more and more strange, and eventually some of her colleagues on this project, everything's being experimented and built out in the desert. So they call Jack and ask Jack if he could come out there because things have gotten a little bit derailed and they think maybe it's a software problem. And since software is his responsibility, specifically a predator prey software that he built at his former job, maybe he can lend his expertise to the issues that they're having. Only when Jack gets out there, he realizes the problem is way bigger than anybody ever bothered to mention, including his wife. And basically, these nanobots have escaped the facility and have been living on their own out in the desert and evolving, becoming more complex, multiplying, learning, and have become predatory. Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm not sciencey. I am not a science person. I am sort of knowledgeable about some computer technologies, but not a ton. And certainly know nothing about the strides we have made with nanotechnology. As a matter of fact, I seriously thought nanotechnology was something that Iron Man had invented. That's how ignorant I am when it comes to science. So I say that to say that most of this book was over my head. Most of it. It's a good book. It's rooted very much in very popular thriller tropes. You know, this man-made thing that begins to kill man, like how our own technological advancements are detrimental. It made an enjoyable story, but I think Michael Crichton is way smarter than me and probably always will be, because at this point I don't see myself gaining a ton of knowledge in the areas covered by Michael Crichton, specifically in this book, Prey. So luckily, Michael Crichton spells out a lot of it for the reader, but that's both beneficial and detrimental depending on who you are. If you know a lot about this stuff, then the things that he goes over and details for you might be a little bit tiresome and a little bit boring. For somebody who has no idea what's going on, I found it very helpful. Just gonna say that right now. This book is both interesting and terrifying because it's always exciting to think about the strides we could make or the things we could produce, the things we may know a decade from now that we didn't know a decade ago. Like, that's always exciting. So I like to nerd out on things, on possibilities, on things that could be. But at the same time, learning that technology like this exists and learning through the author's eyes what that technology could lead to also makes this a pretty scary book. Think of thousands of microscopic particles banding together to infiltrate your body. It's very similar to what we're seeing a lot of now, which is a virus that is wreaking havoc on our health and on our way of life in general, right? The book Prey is there's some parallels, whereas a virus infiltrates your body and then replicates. What the book covers is a technology that continues to replicate, evolve, learn, and then infiltrate and kill human beings. So it's interesting because you feel hunted, or you feel a great sense of concern over these things that are so small and insignificant, but instead are very deadly, especially working together as a team. They become the predator, humans become the prey. I think what I like most about the book is Jack, but not Jack and his profession or Jack and his intelligence or whatever. When the book begins, he's out of work, and Jack is very much a stay-at-home dad. And there's a lot of reference to how, being in the home for so long, taking care of the children for so long, one of which is a small infant, how that has changed him. And it brings much needed humanity to this book. I think without that element, you're looking at something extremely technological and sometimes out of reach. But I think getting those snippets of Jack as a dad, getting glimpses of the children, it really makes you afraid for him and for his kids, especially when Jack's wife begins acting strangely and begins being painted more as a villain than as a loving, doting mother. It's even closer. The danger at that point is even closer to home for Jack and for the children. So that to me was the most interesting non-science-y part, was seeing Jack as a stay-at-home dad. And this is also a book that has a questionable ending, like not ambiguous. It's not ambiguous in any way. Like the ending pretty much, I mean, you know what happened. You know what happened, and you know the fate of everyone involved. And it really depends on how you look at it. Is this a happy ending? Is this not a happy ending? There are triumphs in a lot of areas, and then there are some devastating things that happen along the way. And so I walked away from this book like I didn't have warm, fuzzy vibes. Like, it's scary, it makes you think, and then at the end, there's so many repercussions to this technological advancement in the book that you can't really feel super happy. You can't really feel that triumphant feeling because a lot of crap things have happened along the way. But here's what I know. I didn't look into a ton about this book, but I do know that in its 20 years, it's had some criticisms about Michael Crichton's use of the science, and is it accurate? Is it inaccurate? Could these things really happen? Et cetera, et cetera. There are some criticisms there. As somebody who knows nothing about science, this all sounds completely 100% convincing. And so there's that. Also, he's entertaining. It's an entertaining read. Hard to wade through, but there's some definite stuff on the line. I mean, if you're a thriller fan, you're going to find your thriller elements inside of Michael Crichton, at least in Prey. Now, I can't speak about his writing in general, because this is the only book that I've read, obviously I've seen Jurassic Park, I have to assume that at least a little bit of Crichton left in that adaptation. And I think that you've really got to be interested in the subject matter to embark on a read through of Crichton's novels. What did this book, what was the effect of this book on me as a reader? It left me intrigued. I kind of feel like if I continued to read Michael Crichton, I might get smarter. There's appeal there. And there's also this idea, I have this idea that, if you could take a Michael Crichton book at face value, it could be extremely entertaining. And being ignorant to these scientific facts that or the scientific information that he is presenting as fact, I'm ignorant to that. And thus, I can take it all at face value because I can't argue any of that science. Am I going to run out and start buying up Michael Crichton novels? No, I'm not. But I can now say that I will pay attention to Michael Crichton books as I come across them, and maybe look for another one that appeals to me, because at the end of the day, these are techno thrillers. However, at the end of the day, history gets in my way. And so it would be important to me that I read a book that doesn't feel like it was written decades ago, that if some of the technologies that Crichton talks about in his books are futuristic in the books, but they are day-old technologies to us, that will get in my way. It will, just because I'm that type of reader. So I wouldn't want that to happen. And he's an author that I'm more than willing to read again, but that I would have to be just aware of those things that could potentially go wrong for me as a reader when I went to choose my next Michael Crichton novel. But I'm interested to know what you guys think. I want to know if you've read Michael Crichton, if you have, what books you definitely would recommend, and what books you would definitely steer clear of if you were me. By chance you don't know anything about Michael Crichton, then that's another good reason for you to go check out Angel's channel and see what videos she has posted about this author and this type of book in general. So I had a really good time with this, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm seriously thinking about contacting random booktubers and asking them to recommend me a book. It's fun to say, hey, you really like this set of books, recommend one that you think has mass appeal. Like, recommend one that could appeal to someone that you don't know much about, or someone that you don't know what their experience level is with the subject matter or with the author. Now that I've done this, and that wasn't my goal, like Angel had posted a video talking about sometimes feeling a sense of loneliness on BookTube, or sometimes not being able to connect with other BookTubers as much as she would like to. And when I watched it, first of all, it resonated because some of her points are very true and valid. I wanted to interact with her, and I wanted to do so with something based on something that I knew for sure that she liked. And so I asked for this recommendation. Anyways, long story short, I had a lot of fun with it, and I'm thinking maybe I'll just contact random booktubers and say, hey, throw something out there. I'll give it a try. You don't know me, but if you could just maybe do this, that'd be great. I don't know. I'm not a huge booktuber by any stretch of the imagination, but if you know a smaller booktuber that has a niche or has a certain type of book or a certain author that they like, and you really share that appreciation, let me know who those booktubers are down below. On top of, like I said, the Michael Crichton books that you would recommend or not. But thank you so much to Angel for this recommendation of Prey, and thank you for watching, and I will see you all very soon.